In 2007, Chicago convened a breast cancer task force to try to figure out why so many black men and women were dying of cancer. For black women, it's mostly breast cancer. For black men, it's mostly prostate cancer. And across the cancer industry, every doctor will tell you that cancers are known to be far more severe in African American patients than, let's say, Caucasian patients. But they don't understand why. And I'll tell you why. It's a very simple reason. It has everything to do with melanin in the skin. If you have darker skin pigmentation, because your ancestors came from a region closer to the equator, where sun exposure is more intense. And so the melanin in the skin is designed to block UV radiation. It's a built-in sunscreen.
Stop all that fucking lying. And he's supposed to be a scientist. A scientist of what? These motherfuckers be missing truth with falsehood. Alright, we're gonna go on this book right here. Y'all see the title. I'm about to get straight to the point. In addition, it has been well documented that chlorophyll only absorbs 400 and 700 nanometers of wavelength. In contrast, melanin absorbs the full electromagnetic spectrum. So what in the fuck is he talking about?
And so the melanin in the skin is designed to block UV radiation. It's a built-in sunscreen.
So this man mean to tell me melanin blocks the sun. Yet we reading that it absorbs the entire electromagnetic spectrum. Something ain't right with this shit. I don't know where he got his degree from. He's supposed to be a fucking scientist.
It's actually a feature. You know, black skin is a feature. It's a survival mechanism of those whose ancestors lived near the equator. But it blocks vitamin D production at the same time.
Now how can it block vitamin D when it clearly says right here, the principle implies that melanin captures photonic energy and transforms it into chemical energy, simply to the photosynthesis process as the absorption, they don't say it repels, absorption of photons from electromagnetic radiation. It's talking about the damn sun rays, which brings about an ionic event. But what ionic event? Melanin extracts energy from water by separating and reuniting the hydrogen atoms from oxygen atoms. Briefly, two molecules plus melanin in the presence of photons of electromagnetic radiation gives us two hydrogen molecules, an oxygen molecule, and 4 electrons. Now, what does this mean? It means that the reaction goes in other directions. The hydrogen and oxygen atoms reunite, giving us water and electricity, since the melanin does not undergo change. Just like in the Bible, it say, "Our the Lord changeth not." Shit possibly could be talking about fucking melanin. But anyway, it says it does not undergo change, but simply catalyzes the reaction without any deterioration to its molecule. The reaction proceeds in both directions and being complementary reactions, one exergonic and the other intergonic. A cycle is established which lasts for years, as the melanin does not deteriorate. Ain't that some shit? And this motherfucker got the nerve to say that melanin reflects the sun. And yet right here it says the melanin captures the photonic energy and uses it to extract a hydrogen molecule from water. Ain't that some shit? Also right here it says the human photosystem is composed of light, melanin, water arranged in order of abundance in nature. Melanin has the capability to harvest visible and invisible light, and with that energy, melanin is capable to break the water molecule into the hydrogen and oxygen. By analogy with plant photosynthesis, we call this ability of the melanin as a human photosynthesis. It's just that goddamn simple. I don't know what the hell this dude talking about. And then check this out. Unlike melanin, plants, check this out, y'all. Structural similarities include the 4 nitrogen atoms in the center of both molecules, In the case of melanin, it would appear that it may be more reactive per gram of protein since chlorophyll has only one center of reaction, while melanin has hundreds of centers of reaction per gram of the substance. One drawback to using chlorophyll, which is more abundant, has the ability to split the water molecule in order to obtain hydrogen for energy purposes. However, once chlorophyll is taken out of the leaf of a plant, it becomes permanently inactive 20 seconds later. Think about that shit. Think about it. In other words, plants can only take in 400 to 700 nanometers of the sun. After that, it shits it out as what we know as carbon dioxide, and that's converted into oxygen molecules in which we breathe. But remember, we read that melanin does not change, period. It just absorbs visible and invisible light. It doesn't change. Now, y'all check this shit out. Check out the comparison. In the Bible, right here in this verse, and you see it, Genesis 2, 2 and 3. It say, and on the seventh day, God ended his work which he had done. And he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had done. That's all I need right there. I don't need to read the rest. He rested. Now think about this shit. Does the sun rest? The sun doesn't rest, period. It's been beaming for fucking trillions of years. And you mean to tell me God got tired? So in other words, God created something that had greater ability than God itself or himself, according to the Bible, it's a he. Okay, which we gonna prove that shit in just a second. But it was a he. So in other words, I can go get you a cocaine pill popping junkie right now, and his ass will stay up longer than 7 days. You mean to tell me a junkie cannot do God? Because God had to take a fucking break and rest? So in other words, this God that rested on the seventh day would be like chlorophyll taking a break, and the sun itself would be like melanin that does not take any breaks, does not change. Ain't this some shit? Now, just to prove what I was talking about earlier. And the Lord appeared. This is Genesis 18. Okay? 1 through 5. And the Lord appeared to Abraham near the great trees of Mamre while he was sitting at the entrance to his tent in the heat of the day. To the heat now. Abraham looked up and saw 3 men standing nearby. When he saw them, he hurried from the entrance of his tent to meet them and bowed low to the ground. So he doing some Islamic type shit. Okay, he bowing his head to the ground. He said, if I have found favor in your eyes, my Lord, do not pass your servant by. Let a little water be brought, and then you may all wash your feet and rest under this tree. So even this God had to rest under a tree, just like he had to rest from creating everything in 6 days. He had to take a break on the 7th day because he got tired. He just wasn't built like that. So we see that as a man because he got feet and he had to rest. So we see that this God is a representation of chlorophyll. Unlike the sun would be a representation of melanin. It don't change.
You see? Because the ancestors, all of our ancestors, were outdoors people. They spent their time outdoors.
Meanwhile, the sun was lighting y'all ass up.
They didn't live in offices. They didn't work indoors all day long. So they had too much sun.
Now, when he say he had too much sun, he mean that because they, the Caucasian, his race, because they have sulfur melanin, it burns them. As we can clearly see that the UVC rays, they just penetrate through the clouds. Then we see that the UVB rays, they penetrate the surface to the point to where your skin will get a tan. Then the UVA rays, which are gamma ray light, go through the skin and penetrates the DNA. And because they don't have neuromelanin, which is an absorber in which we just clearly found out This man don't know what the fuck he talking about. Because they don't have it, it causes their DNA to tear. It causes them to age faster. Not just age faster, but it causes their skin to inflame and burn, just like a vampire. So if there ever was a vampire, if any, it will be those that get burnt by the sun. These are just fucking scientific facts.
And so the dark skin pigmentation blocked the excessive sun and it protected them from UV radiation.
Don't y'all get this shit twisted for 1 second. The ancestors that he are referring to are his race. The only thing they blocking is the sun with the damn suntan lotion. That's it. Now, I will say this concerning the original people of the planet, so-called black people, that is. It is a fact that black people do lack sunlight because most of them brainwashed and they're afraid to get their skin darker because of that Willie Lynch slave traumatic syndrome to hate their darker skin. They stay away from the sun rays because they want to be light skinned because they have been totally brainwashed with shit water. And this does, in the process, cause cancerous cells because that photonic light particles from the sun is not being converted into energy. Remember, melanin, neuromelanin, absorbs.
Well, today we all live indoors, don't we, for the most part?
Don't forget, the planet is heating up, so you can run, but you can't hide.
Indoor lifestyles, office jobs, even people who work in hospitals are working indoors. And when black people work indoors or live indoors, they become sunlight deficient, especially because of the melanin in their skin. So now
your ass just got caught in a lie. You just got caught in a lie. You know you done fucked up, right? First your ass said that melanin blocks the sun rays. So how in the hell we gonna be melanin deficient if melanin is an absorber? It doesn't block the fucking sun. Melanin is literally like a black hole. It absorbs the entire electromagnetic spectrum, visible and invisible. We already established that shit. So now your ass just straight up lying. The only way we will be deficient is that we don't go in the sun, in which I already explained that shit, and that's the reason for the cancerous cells.
that same feature of their skin that blocked excessive sun radiation in, let's say, Africa, now in New Jersey or New York, it's a detriment because it's causing African American populations to become deficient in vitamin D. And this is what's happening in Chicago and Detroit, and especially the more northern latitudes of northern United States, Canada, and so on. Black men in the UK have very high rates of prostate cancer, and when they get diagnosed with prostate cancer, the prognosis is less positive than, let's say, a white person with prostate cancer. The cancers are more aggressive, they're more deadly. The answer is lack of vitamin D.
Alright, let's get this shit clear. We know that cancerous cell starts in the bone marrow. And if you can't absorb, hence neuromelanin, digest the photonic light particles from the sun spectrum, your ass will be cancerous prone. So for him to say that black people are highly cancerous due to a lack of sunlight, he's correct. But on the flip side, the more sunlight they get, the more cancerous cells forms up in their body because they don't have neuromelanin to digest it or convert it into a source of energy to feed the bone marrow. I already showed what it does to them. It literally rips their DNA strand.
And yet in 2007, this Chicago Breast Cancer Task Force convened, I think, over 100 doctors and nurses to try to have a powwow, a team effort to try to figure out why is cancer worse in black people in Chicago. And wouldn't you know it, after spending days or even weeks on this project, they couldn't come up with the truth. The truth that people with dark skin are sunlight deficient, they're vitamin D deficient, and that's why the cancer is more aggressive, because vitamin D halts cancer.
In other words, if you're a native on the planet, an original person to the planet, get your ass out there and get some sun.
And vitamin D can be purchased for $0.05 a day. Every black person in Chicago, in Detroit, in New York, in the UK could prevent cancer. About 4 out of 5 cancers, by the way, with nothing but vitamin D. And yet the cancer industry won't tell them that. So here's a case where you have a disease that is disproportionately more aggressive in blacks versus whites. And white people, they absorb sunlight more efficiently when they're outdoors.
Stop all that fucking lying. They love mixing truth with falsehood, as y'all can clearly see.